Let me cue the music.
Play that funky music, white boy.
Welcome, fans and subscribers, to Last Week in Gaming, Episode 10. With me is special guest Derreck, coming to us first time on the show, and returning for the panel is Brian. Gentlemen, welcome to the show.
What's up, Joe? Thanks for having me, man.
Having me again.
And I will say, Brian, we're going to hold this for the special panel segment, but you are joining us, it looks like, from a virtual world. Tell us a little bit about it.
So it's just an application that is in the Quest, basically all models of the Quest, that's called Immersed. It allows you to kind of sit in a desktop environment and connect to a Windows machine or a Mac machine via a remote interface and have floating screens in front of you that are actually not too terrible to look at. But yeah, so that's what I'm in now. It gives you the ability to create a virtual webcam, which is what I'm operating on right now. The tracking on it's actually pretty decent.
It looks like it.
Uses the tracking from the headset.
I'm not seeing a blur. Yeah.
So.
And are you going to tell us that your beard actually looks like that in real life?
I mean,
I
people have seen it.
I think
people have seen it.
In the real world, I think it looks just like that. A little bushier? Okay.
A little bushier.
Maybe not. And Derreck, you are a former avid gamer. Hopefully with this show, I can get you back into gaming full time.
Yes. You almost had me with Diablo here recently.
I tried. I worked on it. I really tried to sell that game to you. Bethesda. Give me money for that.
I've been so busy lately.
I mean, Blizzard. What's wrong with me? Blizzard, not Bethesda. I'm thinking Starfield.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, but So I don't have a good expert opinion, but I will definitely love to give my opinion on some of these topics.
And that's exactly what we want to hear, because gaming is fun when we can all voice what we love, what we're looking forward to, and hopefully nothing that we dislike. But hey, there's always that dissatisfaction, unfortunately, that people have. So we have a packed show tonight. I talked about Bethesda. Yes, we're going to talk about Starfield and that Starfield Direct. We're going to talk about Battlefield 2042 Season 5 New Dawn. The Lies of Pi demo also released last week. We have gameplay on that. So there's much to get into. There's much to discuss. So without further ado, gentlemen, let's get into The Lies of Pi, our first update on the show. The Lies of Pi demo was announced at the Summer Game Fest last week, June 9th. It is in development and will be published by NeoWiz. I think I have that correctly said there. It's identified as a steampunk-styled game and a Souls-like action RPG exploration game. I love those Souls-born games. I cannot get enough of those, and I've only finished a few of them. The official game release for Lies of P, I keep saying Lies of Pi. You know, I see that and I think I want some pie, but it's Lies of P for Pinocchio there, so excuse me on that. The official game release for it is September 19th, 2023, and that is the official release. It officially releases across PC, as well as current and last-gen Xbox and PlayStation consoles. It's really good that the last gens are not left behind there. And yes, we have some gameplay. You're looking at gameplay on the Steam Deck. The specs for it, are in the description. Just so you know, I allotted 4 gigabytes of VRAM on the Steam Deck and am using crypto utilities at default to improve performance and manage storage through altering the swap file. For those familiar with crypto utilities, I have Fidelity FX Super Resolution, FSR, enabled on Steam Deck OS. The frame rate is capped by 60 on the Decky Recorder plugin, which is being used. However, with my gameplay not using Decky Recorder, I found that frame rates remain the same. And the game is using default settings. No adjustments were done in-game. So, let's talk frame rates for a moment. For the first boss fight, which you see here, I was in the mid-40s, plugged in on battery and even not plugged in and over 50% there. But other areas I was seeing in the upper 50s. So this played really nicely on the Steam Deck. I was very happy to see that. The channel has covered the story of Lies of P in its May 25th Daily Gaming Update. So gentlemen, let's talk about story. How many of you love the story of Pinocchio? Derek, Brian, Pinocchio fans here?
Not very familiar with it.
All right. Well, in this game, how about you, Brian? Are you familiar?
I'm familiar, but not really. This game seems kind of weird.
It definitely is, because it's a dark twist, if you will, to the Pinocchio story. It's a dark fantasy themed story of Pinocchio. You're tasked as P to find Geppetto in the city of Krat, which is it appears as a French city. It's inundated with puppets. Geppetto is the creator and father of Pinocchio, and he is father of the puppets, and he's a genius engineer who was a leader of the Golden Age in Krat. P is created to save Krat and its fate, and it's going to take a bit of work from what I experienced in the demo. In the demo, there are 3 bosses. The Parade Master, which you saw gameplay for, looks like the big red tank. The Mad Donkey, which looks like a humanoid figure just wearing a donkey mask or helmet of sorts. And the Scrapped Watchman. I did not get to the 3rd boss on this one, gentlemen. I had to relearn how to play Bloodborne to get through this demo, but I have gameplay on the first 2 bosses. So my verdict for this, I loved it. Again, it was a rough start trying to remember how to play Bloodborne because it's been so long, but I really felt like I was playing another, not Bloodborne 2, but another Bloodborne game. And that made me very happy. I was immediately intrigued with the story. The enemies are intricate and they are diverse as well, which I really appreciate. So it's not just going in and hitting every enemy the same. You have to actually understand the movements of the enemies. Typical Soulsborne-like game. First impressions, though, Derek, Brian, thoughts on this?
It looks really fun, honestly. Yeah.
Say it again, Brian.
It's just another reskin Soulsborne game. That's all it is.
Yeah. But it does look fun. I'd play it.
The combat, I'm so used to Dark Souls where I need to use a shield, and I'm so used to holding up the shield. Okay, person's going to hit, so I had to remember in Bloodborne, there is actually a shield you can use in Bloodborne, but it's a wooden shield. It's nothing extravagant like you would get as a shield in the Dark Souls game. So I had to remember, hey, you can guard with the sword, which is great, but I would not highly depend on that guard. You still do take enough health that you will not want to always guard. I mean, yes, even in the other Soulsborne games, you do take a hit on health depending on your build, of course, as to how much. But generally speaking, you do. So it's just something to watch out for. You do have, at least in the demo, 3 vials. And the 4th one, or the next ones, they will actually load as they will replenish. The one will replenish depending on how many hits you get. If you get enough hits on an enemy to fully replenish one, then one will be replenished. So some other notes on this. There appears to be a lie system, and when he entered Hotel Krat, he had to lie to get in. He had to lie and say he was not a puppet, when in actuality, gentlemen, Hate to break it to you, he is a puppet. He is really a puppet. There are 2 different Legion arms. There's an arm for a power punch, so something maybe like the Mighty Hulk, but it doesn't have that drastic effect. And an arm for the puppet string. This reminded me of Sekiro somewhat, though it has a different function. You are not flying from rooftops with the puppet string, but you can draw enemies in closer, which is really neat and adds a dynamic to combat. Character progression is with Ergo. That is the currency that is collected from enemies, so equivalent to souls and Dark Souls and Blood Echoes in my tied all-time favorite game, Bloodborne. Stargazers are the equivalent to bonfires in Dark Souls games and lanterns in Bloodborne. Hotel Krat is the main hub. I mentioned that. And it is analogous to that of the Firelink Shrine in Dark Souls 3 and Nexus and Demon Souls. So it is a Soulsborne game with those similar attributes. Any other thoughts on this one, gentlemen?
No, not really.
All right. Well, that is our update for Lies of P, not Lies of Pi. You get Pi later, Lies of P. Moving to our next update. Battlefield 2042, new season, Season 5, released within the last week. The channel has been covering Battlefield 2042 and the developments of Season 5. It was introduced, those updates were introduced in the May 26th Daily Gaming Update, and including new weapons. The season includes new weapons like the XCE Bar, which is a bolt-action rifle, the new map, which is a significant update, new content introduced in the season. This one is in Czechia, and it's at an abandoned industrial facility, and it is diverse. So you have your close combat, close quarters, and then you have areas where you can get out the scope and you can do some long distance shooting there. And we have some gameplay for the new map. This is on the Corsair One Pro A200 using an AMD Ryzen 9 5950X 16-core CPU that boosts up to 4.9 gigahertz, 64 gigabyte RAM, DDR4 at 2666 megahertz, though overclocked to 3200. And this is on an NVIDIA RTX 3080 Ti 12 gigabyte GDDR6X. So I play as Casper in what you are seeing in the gameplay. I'm using an SFAR-MGL assault rifle as the primary. And I'm using as my Super 500 for the secondary. I love my I call it the tug. I love it. That's my gadget. Helps me find the enemies on the map. Really like that. And I also use the incendiary grenade as my throwable as well. And my verdict on this, it's fun. It's a great map. I will say it's tied with Season 1 exposure for me on this one. So, Brian, I have to tell you, I've been trying to get you back to Battlefield 2042 for some time. Is this the gameplay that's going to do it? My modest gameplay here.
I don't think so, man. They're having just as bad of a time with cheaters as Battlefield, or as Call of Duty, rather.
It seems rampant across many of these PvP games, multiplayer PvP games, with just the technology, people being able to buy modded controllers. It's an effort to try to thwart it, but when there's a will, there's a way, so to speak. Derreck, how about you? Have you played any Battlefield? Have you played any Call of Duty?
Yeah, Call of Duty, yes. Battlefield, I never did play. I never got into it. I think I did try it out for a little bit one time, and I just went back to Call of Duty. But this does look fun.
It's a futuristic feel.
Yeah. Is it like a futuristic type?
It's warfare that takes place in the future, 2042.
2042, I guess. Yeah,
And
I've never really been into the futuristic war type games, but this doesn't look too crazy.
it's interesting because, see, I always have. If it takes place in the future with
Yeah.
guns, yeah, sign me up. I'm ready to play the closed beta on that. That is how I am there. All right. Well, I think that's going to be our update for Battlefield 2042 Season 5 New Dawn. If you have not yet picked it up and tried the new map, definitely recommend it. And I recommend trying to dominate C1 and C2, though you can have some fun at B1 if you want without the not necessarily close quarters combat for base B1. Moving next to, this is exciting, the Cyberpunk 2077 Phantom Liberty story expansion. We got to see some new gameplay throughout the past week. This is a new spy thriller expansion to the original Cyberpunk 2077. The release is on PC, according to Steam, on September 25th. For PlayStation 5 on September 26th, according to the PlayStation Store. The game will be available for Xbox Series X and S. The game will not be available for last-gen consoles based on what the details on the Phantom Liberty site provide. This is developed and published, is in development and will be published by CD Projekt Red. Let's talk about the trailer and what we know so far from what we observed. There's an orbital shuttle, Space Force One, with the President of the United States. The shuttle is shot down, gentlemen, overnight, within the deadliest of districts. And I'm going to be very dogmatic when I tell you what district this is. Dogtown. The district of Dogtown. It's a combat zone. It's walled off. It's located east of the Pacifica sub-districts of Coastview and West Wind Estate. So if you are an eccentric cyberpunk fan like myself, you can go and look at your map and figure out where exactly this is for all of those that have maps out there of Metro City. The Barguest gang or faction, they are the ones that control Dogtown. And there's only one person that can save the president. Derreck, Brian, who is it? Who can save the president?
No idea.
It's you. It's you. You play as V. You're the only one. Imagine that. You're the only one that can save the president, which means you have to buy the expansion and the original game, the initial game, if you didn't, because, again, president needs saving. She's in trouble. You need to save her. The story.
Was that woman with the running around with the AK?
I personally disagree with this, to be honest, because after the debacle that was the launch of this game, I feel like they owe everybody a free expansion.
And that
like
is a,
the glitches were so bad, people returned this game.
Yeah, even on the PlayStation Store, they
so
took it
why
down.
So why on earth would you require me to pay for an expansion to a game that so many people returned? That seems a little backwards to me, and I think CD Projekt Red is trying to avoid bankruptcy at this point.
Interesting thoughts. The game, I will say, it has come a long way. You are correct. The launch, it was a mess. It did not play well. I played it on PC myself. It did better on PC than the other platforms, PlayStation 5 or the PlayStation, excuse me. They had some trouble with this. They probably had more trouble than anyone with it than even on Xbox. So I think charging for it, they want you to look at how far they've come compared to where they were. That would be my answer. And then there's also Keanu Reeves. He's back.
So my other issue with this though is it's like, okay, so your whole point to this was to have multiple endings, right? But now you're saying that all of these alternate endings that people were getting that had a ending where Johnny's in space or Johnny's doing or V's in space or V's wherever, you're invalidating all of those endings with this expansion, saying, oh yeah, V, now you got to save the president. Like, does this happen before the last mission? Does it happen after the last mission? Like, I don't get why I should have to pay to have a interim story or a story that they've now chosen an ending for me and now they're continuing. Otherwise, what was the point of the other endings? That just pisses me off.
Well, what I can do, Brian, is I can get it and I can play the story and I can tell you exactly where it is, and then you make that determination. I might just gift
like
it to
it's
you.
like Cyberpunk 2077 now with 20% less dildos around on the ground.
Yeah, there were quite a few of those. I will say it was hard not to find one in the game. Yeah, there was at least one store, I can tell you. And I didn't even know what the store was. I went in there and went, "Wait a minute. What store is this? I wasn't looking for this type of store." Derreck, Cyberpunk. How do you feel about cyberspace and living in Metro City and getting augmentations in the biological age?
Yeah, it's not for me.
Not for you.
Not at all. No, and I never played this game ever.
You don't want cool arms that extend out.
No.
Super strength.
Nah.
Improved
I like
heart.
being. No. No thanks.
Well, Brian, maybe I can convince you with this detail. Excuse me. Idris Elba is in this one. He plays as Solomon Reed. He's an experienced FIA agent. He's adept with covert intelligence. There he is right there. And he's also adept with intelligence missions. He's skilled at extracting information from spies and net runners. And another character you might want to know about is Myers, who's going to be our president and is a former CEO of Militech. So that's an interesting relationship there, that the president is a former CEO of Militech. Brian, that may explain the endings for us and how they correlate. And she is in her third term, from what I understand here. Some additions to Cyberpunk expansion here. They're brand new radio stations. The radio stations were fun to listen to in the original game. And so 89.7 Growl FM will include 12 to 15 tracks. And these were submitted by Cyberpunk 2077 players. So that's awesome that those songs will be on that radio station. And then there's going to be a Night City independent community radio station that will be hosted by DJ Ash and voiced by influencer Sasha Gray. So for those that have stayed with the series, or excuse, not the series, but stayed with the game and the updates for the game, this is very exciting. Wait. Okay, here we go. Here we go. Brian's not going to let me be excited for this game.
Is this the Sasha Gray that I think it is?
I did not bring my notes on Sasha Gray with me, but we can take a moment here and look
for a second, and I'm going to do some research. I'm going to be back to you in 2.5 seconds.
All right, that's fine. Derreck, how do you feel about Sasha Gray?
I don't know who that is.
We need this is why we need more people on the show. So I could just turn my head and say, "Hey, do a quick search here. I need notes. I need information." We'll give it a moment. And we can enjoy this awesome footage here captured for Cyberpunk 2077 Phantom Liberty expansion. At the Xbox Game Show.
I was right.
Oh, wait. Okay, we have information. All right, Brian, tell us about Sasha Grey.
Influencer my ass. It's ex-porn star / current Twitch streamer Sasha Grey.
All right, I will say that the way the sources described Miss Grey was with the word influencer. So I felt this is appropriate. Let's describe her as an influencer. But yep, that is, you can look in the sources for the show and see that, yes, voiced by influencer Sasha Grey is going to be on the Night City Independent Community Radio station, based on what the channel has collected. So I guess, so maybe Brian, have I won you over? Are you going to buy the expansion now?
I don't know about all that.
He's going on Steam. He's looking it up. He says, Can I spend this? I'll give you a gift card, Brian. I'll send a gift card. It's around that time. What is it? It's September. All right. Yeah, I'll do it. Because I need you to play all the possible endings that this expansion may have. If there is more than one ending, I don't know. And then tell me about them.
I might play it.
Okay, all right. Well, we talked. See, Derek, I had no idea. I just went, hey, Sasha Grey, nice name. Let's include that tidbit on the channel. Little did I know that name was going to be the winning feature here to convince my brother Brian to get the expansion. And maybe that was the part. You know, someone oblivious like me that's just captured by the gameplay. Oh yeah, need to pick this up, but Brian, And then Sasha Grey. Okay. Well, now I have to. Derek, any other thoughts?
I do like the idea of multiple endings. That's pretty cool.
The initial one did have that. The initial game. Brian, was it 5 or 6? I'm trying to remember. I can't recall off the top of my head. Let us know in the comments if you remember. But there are multiple. I do not know for this one. At least the channel has not uncovered that yet. It wasn't mentioned at the Xbox showcase that there would be multiple endings. So we will have to see. But if there is an update on that, we will provide it on updates to come. And that is going to be our update for Cyberpunk 2077 Phantom Liberty expansion. Our next update, Lords of the Fallen. The channel has been following the developments around the Lords of the Fallen game. The latest update was episode 7 of Last Week in Gaming, and daily gaming updates May 18th and May 25th. So for our fans and subscribers that have been following the channel and its content, this is going to be a familiar one for you. And Brian, you're going to love this one. It's another Soulsborne game. Gameplay and cinematics shared in the Summer Game Fest show and PC Gaming show last week. I didn't expect that. I thought the Summer Game Fest show, that was everything, and then I'm tuning in later on the weekend, PC Gaming show. Okay, I see these new games. All right. Oh, Lords of the Fallen. So that caught me by surprise. This game is identified as an RPG Souls-like dark fantasy game. In the dark world, players traverse and exist in an age of the demon god Adir, who is cruel and tyrannical. You journey across parallel worlds, the living realm, Axiom, and the nightmarish realm, Umbral. And in the Summer Game Fest show content that was shared, that was further articulated, at least in a visual sense, because you got to see the relationship between Axiom and Umbral and how you traverse between those two different worlds to traverse across the entire game overall. So let's talk about what we saw in the content that was shown over this past weekend. We saw new bosses, at least 3. We saw a possessed creature that clearly has a demonic presence, has an extra appendage protruding from its gullet, and acts as an overseer over a city caught aflame. Very disturbing right there. Master of Castigations, Tancred, combats Sentinels. Tancred's the name, and has a twin that will sometimes act dominant. Very disturbing. And lastly, Horror Dervla, I believe I have that correct, who abandoned her faith and as a result follows a dark path. Those are the 3 bosses there. We observed a further demonstration, like I mentioned, of the parallel worlds. And this is what is different from the Soulsborne games. There is a distinction here when players die. When they die, you enter the world of Umbral, that is the nightmarish realm, and you have to fight your way through it to return to Axiom. So it's transitioning to a life within the nightmare world versus a life within the world of the living. That's a great dynamic there. And players will need to move across both worlds in the game, therefore. So, this is some stunning dark footage content that we have seen. Brian, are you still critical of these upcoming Soulsborne games? Or does the world of Umbral have you captivated?
I've never really been a huge fan of the Dark Souls games. I'm not. This one just isn't for me.
Isn't for you. All right, we have that. You heard it here on the channel. Derreck, is this the game that's going to make you play this full time?
Probably not.
Probably not.
Dude, that game looks awesome.
Yeah.
I would play that game so hard.
Yeah, me too. And there is co-op.
But that's why I couldn't play it, because I would just play it and play it and play it, and I don't have the time to do that.
I don't have the time either. I don't even know why I cover it. I cover so much. I don't even have the time to really sit down and play all of it like I would truly like to do. But hey, it's fun. It is fun.
It looks great.
Love new games. Love the hype of new games. And Brian here, he balances me out. He says, all right, don't get excited about this one. This one's not worth it. Next one, maybe. Brian and I, good balance there. And I think that is going to be our update for Lords of the Fallen. Moving next to the Starfield Direct. Many fans, those looking forward to the game, this was the moment to define if Starfield was going to live up to the initial expectation, I will say, of the hype people have been feeling for the game. What is Starfield? It is an open world, truly open world. Let me accentuate that. Role-playing game, RPG, that delivers a single-player experience. It's being developed by Bethesda Game Studios and will be published by Bethesda Software. It releases officially September 6th. However, there are some editions, the premium edition, the collector's edition, and the premium upgrade that allow for you to play it 5 days prior to release date. I will distinguish that those that can play this day one with Game Pass do not get that 5-day prior pass on September 1st, 5 days prior to play the game. So do note that and take that into account on whether you want to purchase one of the other versions. This releases on PC and Xbox Series X and S. And this is interesting. A topic about the graphics engine is sometimes part of discussion with Bethesda titles. The Starfield engine is confirmed to be the Creation Engine 2. And at the beginning, near the beginning of the Starfield Direct, it was noted that this game has better dynamic lighting, for example. So I credit that to my impression, at least, credit that to Creation Engine 2 in being able to deliver a stunning experience, say, compared to what the experience may have been in the former games like Fallout 4. There was so much content. There's so much to unpack. I think what the best approach is to really just dive into little parts of this and get some feedback here from the both of you on what you think and what you are seeing, and if you are truly excited for an open world space exploration game. So as far as the quest, you go across the cosmos. And when I say cosmos, it is said that there are going to be 1,000 planets and 100 systems to explore. That's a large number. Derek, how do you feel about visiting 1,000 planets?
Who, me?
Yeah. How do you feel about exploring?
I don't. That is a lot of planets.
That's a lot of planets. You talked about a game that you could get lost in. I think I found you that game, Derek.
Well, honestly, I came across a TikTok earlier about this game, and
Okay.
I got excited then because this is my type of game. I'm a huge Bethesda fan. A long time. I played all the Elder Scrolls for, since Morrowind, and dude, I would love to play this game. But what exactly? What is your objective?
The objective is to go on your own quest. But yeah, Brian, let me get your thoughts here on how you feel about 1,000 planets over 100 systems to explore.
So, I mean, it's not the first game to do that. I mean, you got games that are, it's not the first space game, and these guys are trying to compete by, creating a game that's going to be, something like Elite Dangerous / No Man's Sky / stuff like that. That's going to be prettier than those games. With obviously less realism than a game like, Elite Dangerous, but there's games out there that this is drawing heavily from, and one of them is a unfinished game that's called Star Citizen. And Star Citizen is a fantastic game, even though it's still in alpha. They've started making a lot of progress on it post-quarantine, so, I'm really excited to see where that game's going. They're starting to talk about releasing capital ships by the end of the year, which would be badass because that means I get mine. But yeah, I mean, this actually does seem like it derives a lot of even ship design. Like I'm seeing a lot of the same types of.
Let me touch on there for ship customization, and you and I, we've jumped into Star Citizen, and you introduced me to Star Citizen as well. And I completely agree with your thoughts. And in fact, I have even confused the names because they are so similar. So regarding ships, you have a wide range of customizations where you can build onto the ship. And I mean, you can make this thing look like a transformer or something from the Power Rangers. It's truly phenomenal based on the screen captures. You can fully disassemble ships in various places in the game. You can buy different modules from ship manufacturers. You can choose crew members. You can completely customize the look and feel. And you can unlock mods and gear at crafting and research stations within the ships. You can run research projects to expand crafting options in Star Citizen. Those ships, there were some beautiful ships in that, Brian.
Oh yeah,
I
there's
think a
some
hot
gorgeous
tub
ships in Star
was
Citizen.
in one. I think the one you had a hot tub. Pretty sure it did.
Oh, I have a couple of them.
You have a couple of hot tubs. I mean, that's high living right there.
You gotta have hot tubs.
I don't have a hot tub, Brian. That's my problem. I hope that Starfield gives me a hot tub option, or I'm just going to have to play.
Here's the thing,
Star
though,
Citizen.
is I'm looking at these maps and I'm looking at a lot of the controls and I'm looking at some of these ships, and if they don't get sued by CIG, I'm going to be very disappointed because this is it's very derivative. And I understand Star Citizen's not a complete game, but when you rip off very specific elements from the game, as far as ship design and things like that, there's only so many so many excuses you can make to say, a space game, futuristic is all going to look the same. It's not. It doesn't. Like, okay, so there's no little robots like that in Star Citizen, but there's a lot of ships and stuff like that I'm just. Like, even the terminals, the terminals are very similar. They're portrait instead of landscape. That's the difference. Like, I don't know. I feel like CIG is probably going to sue the crap out of Bethesda after seeing a lot of this. If they're not already getting some kind of royalties for some of the intellectual property that they're obviously stealing.
And we don't have those details here on the channel to confirm or disconfirm that, but that is definitely noted on the visuals here. And let's talk about character creation. It is the most flexible. It's outfitted with sliders to offer vast options, and Bethesda has not failed with character creation. There is, I would say, even more in depth Bethesda goes for character creation in this. I mean, so far as to have background and option traits where provider starter skills, and that is not necessarily a new concept, but I found the depth to be novel in going into this background and option traits. There's one example, the Cyber Runner, and that is the one I actually plan to have for mine. Has pistol certification, security, and persuasion. And each skill offers a different buff or a ability, and that buff or ability will demonstrate itself in various situations. So they showed, for example, someone with a chef background, and that one being helpful when meeting an NPC in the game. So there's that dynamicism with how your story, customized story, can develop as well. Let's see. The outpost. This is where I started to think of the camps. You remember, Brian, we dived into some hours of Fallout 76 and camp building. That was big. So not only can you customize the ships, but you can build homes away from home. So this is a whole other level. I was overwhelmed with just building a camp. I rebuilt that camp, I think 3 or 4 times. Maybe for 1 or 2 of those builds, you helped me with that. Get some electricity going so I could graduate into the modern era, so to speak. But yeah, you could build outposts. I don't know if that's more than one on a planet or just one per planet. Wasn't said, but there's a sim element here in that, if I may say, where you can build throughout the cosmos for that. Derreck, how do you feel about ship customizations, building your ship, choosing your crew, home away from home with the outposts? Do you plan to get building?
Cool. Yeah, I love the whole customization aspect of games for sure. That's why I love RPGs so much. But yeah, it seems like a cool game.
And as far as the plot, this extends as far as where the cosmos is, where this game takes place. It's 50 light years from our solar system. So that's just in the neighborhood, right? And it takes place in 2330. And the backstory, at least the glimpse that I got, is 20 years after two factions engaged in the Bloody Colony War for territorial control. And those two factions were the United Colonies and the Free Star Collective. So I think one distinction, and Brian, again, I haven't played Star Citizen as much as you have, but I did not get a feeling of backstory. So don't let me dictate that, but that I at least didn't get that as much as what Bethesda is trying to promise.
There's so much lore in Star Citizen.
Okay.
There's more lore than there is game.
Okay. Well, see, I'm glad I got your opinion here, and I was thinking maybe it's because I just haven't delved in enough to that. But I'm interested in the comparison here. So a backstory to your character, to where you are in Star Citizen, how the quantity of that.
So that's the thing. So there's not really anything about you, because so the whole premise of the game is it's supposed to be we could do a whole
we could
do a whole special segment on Star Citizen at some point. But
I'm going to make a note. We're going to do that.
There was an article that the creator wrote that was called Death of a Spaceman. And it's his vision for what he sees this game to be. And, you're writing your own legacy, and you're literally, as your character progresses in the game, eventually, you write a will, and you've started to create a family within the game that are alternate characters. So when your character dies, it gets passed down. All of your stuff, all of your ships, all your property gets passed down to the next person, and they assume your legacy. Like, that is what that game is eventually going to go to. So it's they don't have to really give you a backstory. They just have to give the universe a backstory, and you're just plugging in.
Okay.
Like, you're Joe Schmo. You're writing your own story. It's not like how Destiny was originally supposed to go, where it's like, create your own story, or the games like Fable, where you create your own story by making choices and stuff like that. But this will be, Star Citizen, even now in the newest updates, they've got, it records the quests and jobs that you do, and how well that you do them, and you build reputation with these different types of professions, whether it be trading, whether it be cargo running, mining, scrapping. Piracy is about to become a game loop, so you can have a criminal record. It's cool.
So how do you feel about plugging in, Derek? Star Citizen, Starfield, or are you just going to pick up both?
I don't know.
Tough decision. It's a good discussion. But yes, yeah. I want to do that. Another segment.
So Star Citizen's really easy to get into. Everybody's like, oh, people are spending thousands of dollars on ships and stuff like that. It's like, yeah, there are people that are doing that.
What?
However,
who spends money on gaming?
We won't go into that. We won't go into that. That's a sensitive subject.
I've never heard of that. Spend money on gaming? Get out of here.
So here's the interesting part. They make it very easy to get in and start playing with a $45 package. At that point, if you know somebody who plays the game and they're part of an org, basically the same thing as a guild or a clan in other games. If you find an org, and especially a large org that has a bunch of helpful people that are almost always online, you'll never have issues running into, I want to play Star Citizen, nobody's online to play with. And I happen to know a couple of those orgs. If you're wanting to join or what have test it out. It's like I said, it's $45. You can catch it a couple times a year for a free fly event, where basically all you got to do is download the game. But it is a very demanding game. That's where I think this game is kind of, it's set to give a really good space game experience on something that's not a $4,000 or $5,000 rig. You want to hit 40, 50, 60 frames per second on Star Citizen because it's not optimized for anything. You got to have like a really good rig. This is going to be a really accessible space game to a lot of people.
Well, you see what's happening here, Derek. Brian is going to take all of the fans he can for Starfield, convert them to Star Citizen fans. And I'm going to stay on the hype train for Starfield, but have sincere respect for Star Citizen.
So is Starfield supposed to be multiplayer?
Nope. Single player.
Oh, that killed it completely for me.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Completely. So that's the draw to games like Star Citizen or games like No Man's Sky. They're multiplayer experiences. So, Star Citizen, you spend the $45. Oops.
Siri is not a host on the show. Yeah. She's not a guest.
But
she's not a host. She can't.
$5 and you find somebody else that has bigger ships. You want to learn how to do mining or what have you. A lot of people will take you along mining and have you mine one of their lasers, and they'll split the profits with you. So it's like, oh, hey, we're gonna make 900,000 credits on mining. You can have a third of that because you're mining one of the lasers. So, you can make the money, and then you can buy the ships with in-game currency. You don't have to use your own personal money in the Robert Space Industries store. But yeah, there's plenty of different ways to get into that. But if you want a multiplayer experience, that's the way to go, hands down.
Yeah, it just depends. If you're looking,
there's guides on how to optimize it. But if you want a single player experience, this is fine. It's relaxing. It's a single player game. It lost me in single player though.
Okay. Well, let us know in the comments.
Had a co-op where you could create a co-op lobby for 3 or 4 people, that would be better. But to have it be completely single player, nope, not for me.
Well, let us know in the comments whether you were looking for that in this next Bethesda title, or if you were satisfied with a single player story and you truly want to get lost in space on your lonesome. Well, you have other NPCs, but you can't call a friend to help out. You're just left with the NPCs. Well, that is going to be our update for Starfield and a look into Star Citizen and to what extent you should consider diving into that or both, like Derek is going to do. Derek's going to dive into both.
Probably not.
All right. That is our update. And our next update is GFN Thursday from June 8th. This is when you can learn what new games you can play in the NVIDIA Cloud platform, the GeForce Now service. And those 2 games are Amnesia the Bunker, which the channel covered the demo for in episode 9 of Last Week in Gaming. So check back into that, or previous episode if you have not, for gameplay on the Steam Deck. And the other game is Harmony, the Fall of Revere. And this was covered in the channel's June 8th daily gaming update. So look back at that for story details for that. Though, you can play these 2 new games in the cloud. And that is our update for GFN Thursday from June 8th. Our next segment, our panel special segment, is on the development of the MetaQuest 3, which is expected to release in the fall of this year. That is the window, 2023. That's going to be starting at $499. And a development for the Apple Vision Pro, and the memes for that have really dominated the social media space. And we're going to leverage our expertise for looking at both of these. And Brian, we have been talking about these since last week, And it shouldn't be confused, and I'm going to let you cover this, but it shouldn't be confused that they are really direct competitors of one another. They provide a different experience for those that buy it. So, and I understand that the price is $3,500 for the Apple Vision Pro. So, Brian, let me turn it to you. Your thoughts here on the Quest 3 and the Apple Vision Pro. And then you could talk also about your setup here and that you are interfacing with us in VR. So take it away.
All right. Thank you, Joe. And so let me preface this by saying the Apple Vision Pro is not a VR headset. It's not an AR headset. This is a new class of device that Apple is referring to as a spatial computing device. Yes, hello. Can I help you?
Hella wants the Apple Vision Pro. She's already made her decision. Coming to dogs sometime soon.
The main thing here is what a lot of people aren't giving this credit for is this is going to be the first device that will be strapped to someone's face that has the computing power of essentially strapping a MacBook Air to your face. So there's that. This is not a little VR headset or an AR headset or anything like that. This is literally, you put this on your face, it is a computer. There's supposed to be like a lot of the headsets these days are using a 5K display across both eyes. A lot of the budget headsets aren't that high a resolution yet, but they usually come out to about 2K per eye. With the Apple Vision Pro is actually claiming that each eye will have a greater than 4K resolution display. Just let that sink in.
Yeah,
let that sink in real quick.
I don't know about you, Derek, but I see life in high definition. So if I can see life in higher than 4K, how do you feel about that, Derek?
Well, so it's not even so much about that.
I'm still trying to understand what exactly it is. Like, what do you?
So, Joe, do you have the video queued up by chance?
I do not.
But... Okay. So the Apple Vision Pro is essentially a spatial computing device, but for simplicity's sake, we'll call it AR. It has two distinct modes. You have AR mode, which allows you to still see the area around you, but it will have displays for different apps, screens, a desktop if you want it to, it's a fully functioning device. You want to pull up a TV and have a giant TV floating in front of you, you can do that. The part about the 4K per eye, over 4K per eye, is pretty much, you're talking about retina displays for each eye. Now, the retina displays were defined by Apple as the most that you can see before your eye can't tell any difference in quality, the average person. So that means screen door effect will theoretically be gone. And the usability tests that folks have had so far have said they could not see pixels. And that's one of the biggest problems that you have in the VR and AR headsets now. So if you're telling me that you're putting 4K cameras on the outside of this thing to record the AR environment, to record your environment around you, to display the AR environment in AR pass-through, and you can't see the pixels on the displays that are in front of you, that means that the text is going to be incredibly easy to read. You're not going to get the headaches from it because you're not going to get any of the blurring or the screen door effects. This is a totally different class of device. So the early adopters are going to pay an early adopter tax because they're looking for people that are really going to dive into this. They want people that are going to get inspired to make apps for this, or to, get their friends to make apps for it and try it out as a group. They're looking for people that are going to steer the direction of this new class of device. the Meta Quest already has its niche. The Meta Quest Pro kind of already has its niche as an AR headset that does VR. The Apple Vision Pro is set to be able to do both AR and VR almost seamlessly, while also having this new weird thing where when you're in AR, your eyes show on the front of the screen. When you're in a VR environment, it clouds it up. So
Yeah.
it's interesting. You'll be able to FaceTime on it, and it makes like this deep fake version of your face from when it scans you when you're setting it up. And it projects like this deep fake version of your face in the FaceTime call, which I think is really creepy, but also kind of cool. Because it's also like, okay, so if you've set up the device and you give it to somebody else and they get a FaceTime call, are they talking as you? It's just a different voice. Like I want to see how this works. I guarantee you I am going to be an early adopter of this device because I do want to help shape the ecosystem and where it goes. I want to show that there's going to be activity in gaming and in productivity. Like, I want to use this as a computer. If I'm just chilling in my living room and I want to hop on the computer and do some crazy stuff and maybe play a game while I'm in Discord, I could do that, from a living room without getting off the couch, or I could be in bed freaking playing some games or what have you. I could be in my office. I could be wherever. And then the way it's also set up is if you have a MacBook or if you have a Apple device, if you look at that device, the screen pops up virtually. It's crazy.
And the in the documentation too that has been provided following the press note, I think is what I'm specifically thinking about, showing these visuals where FaceTime calls, for example, you have your presentation on one side of the room, you have what would be the squares where your individuals that you're FaceTiming, where they would be, and can be spread out within your perspective. And it's a versatile device. We saw a PlayStation 5 controller with a NBA 2K, one of the NBA 2K games. So it's not a gaming device, but the versatility gives opportunity for gamers to use it as a spatial display for playing a game. So it's interesting how this is going to develop and whether you see gamers shift to want to have this as a display, if you will, instead of maybe fans like me that like to go out and buy the latest LG. I'm looking at my LG C2 right here next to me. Yeah. Derek, how do you feel about spatially displaying your world around you, your FaceTime calls? If you have family members that don't get along, you can literally spread them out in your display when you are FaceTiming them.
Yeah, that's cool. I'm not a big FaceTimer. I actually don't even have an iPhone. But it seems cool. Weren't they talking about a Google, like Google Glasses was doing this or something at one point? Or they had those?
So that's the fun part of this history is AR hasn't really had a niche. Hasn't really, other than industrial applications. So Google Glass, when that first came out, they made the mistake of doing that open beta and developer kit. There weren't enough people who were interested. So it ended up, the people that were the most interested were actually in the industrial sector. So you'll see Google Glass actually still gets used in factories. But yeah, there's not much else outside of industrial use that Google Glass is used for anymore. Microsoft kind of hit the same thing where design studios love using the Microsoft HoloLens, but outside of the HoloLens, it was kind of a flop. They never really got past selling it at the developer kit level. unless it was for enterprise use. Now you fast forward to an affordable Pro headset that was an AR headset that was the Quest Pro. The Quest Pro, really good headset. It's a really good headset. The price tag at the time was like $1,400, which had everybody in sticker shock. But it's now dropped in price. It's like $900. If you wanted an experience that's kind of going to have a better AR experience than what the Quest and the Quest 2 and 2B, the Quest 3, they're not going to give you the best AR experience. I've got it in AR mode right now. You can't see my background, but my full field of view is actually my living room, but it's a very pixelated image, and it's only in black and white.
You're in the darkness, Brian.
Pro,
I'm worried about you.
If I had the Quest Pro, I would be looking at a color image, still kind of fuzzy. With the Apple headset, it would be a 4K video image of what I'm seeing. So it would be basically like you're looking at a 4K video of your environment while you're doing your thing. The other key thing to point out is there's no controllers. It's all hand gestures and eyes. It tracks your eyeballs and it sees what you're looking at, and then you just click your fingers. And when you click your fingers, it selects whatever it is that you're looking at. It's the coolest thing ever.
Yeah, that's really cool.
I am hyped. I am going to buy one of these because it is going to be my type of device.
And then you're going to play the new Cyberpunk 2077 expansion on a spatial display and listen to the radio station of Sasha Grey. That's what's going to happen. Well, all right. Great information, great input for these two devices here. And that is going to be the ending of our special panel segment tonight. Transitioning next to the conclusion of our show, we are available on podcast services other than YouTube to listen to: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Apple Music, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, and others, Google Podcasts. We are building some exclusive content out on Apple Podcasts. We have more coming for that. Please be patient with us. And before we conclude our show, I would like to ask Derreck, of the games that you have seen, this is going to be a tough question for you. What is the one you are most excited about? I think you already said it, but we hadn't gone through the whole show yet, so I have to ask. I'll read them out to you if you need.
Starfield, that was the name of it, right?
Yeah. I think, yeah. When I saw your eyes,
I probably won't get into it and play it, but I would definitely love to try it out.
Well, that's all right,
man.
Because we'll have you back on the show to watch the gameplay that I am going to record with hopefully my ROG ally that I just got.
I hate that it's single
today.
player.
We will hook you up with a starter ship and Star Citizen.
Yeah, how many ships do you have in that, Brian? Can you spare one for Derreck?
We won't go into that. We won't go into my. We won't. And when my capital ship gets released, that's when we can get hardcore back into that game, because I have the Kraken Privateer, which is a giant aircraft carrier, and it's all mine. It's all mine.
Well, hopefully,
it has
Derreck,
a black market.
Hopefully you get one with a hot tub, because see, my starter ship didn't come with a hot tub.
Gotta have the hot tub.
Got to have the hot tub. And Brian, for you, any games? Cyberpunk, maybe. I think that's the one.
So I mean, kind of. I want to see how they're messing up the story, and I want to have a reason to actually be angry about it instead of speculating why I'm going to be angry about it. So we'll see what happens.
You're a pessimist, Brian. See, this is why
I've been burned too many times by these developers. Like EA's lost me multiple times. Bethesda's not the greatest track record for a good game at release. EA just doesn't release good games anymore. Like, been burned too much. Been burned too much. Like Call of Duty releases without gunfight. What? One of the most
Now,
popular game modes, and you're not going to release it with gunfight. It took them 2 seasons to put it back in.
Now, Immortals of Avium being made by EA Game Studios and Ascendant Game Studios, I think is the other one, collaborative project. That one looks great. I plan to jump into that in the summer. So again, but this is why we are such good friends, Brian. I'm always on the optimistic side. I'm the optimist with the games. It's going to be great. It's going to be good. And then you're the one, it's going to flop. It's going to be terrible. It's going to be awful. But you know what? Cyberpunk came out, and I was still playing it with my Johnny Silverhand Xbox controller. And I just said, give it time. And even with Fallout 76, I was part of the closed beta tests. And I said, give it time. They came out with year 2 content. And they're coming out with another expansion as well, Atlantic City.
I went back in to Cyberpunk after playing it for a year, right? And I go back in and I open it up and I'm very excited. And I go, first thing I do is I just go start running into a group of cops to go start, blasting them up like I usually do.
And they're smarter now with updates compared to the initial.
No, it wasn't even all that. It wasn't even all that. It was the fact that what I didn't realize was that in the time that I was away, they did some sort of reset on all the mod slots. So all of my way overly powered mod slots that made me virtually invincible were not there anymore. So I immediately got wasted, and I was like, what just happened? And then I found out what they did, and I was very upset, and I put the game down for a while again, and I think I might have uninstalled it.
You have to check on those augmentations. They don't just fix themselves, Brian. They don't.
No. It was the fact that CD Projekt Red turned around and they said, we're just going to do this. And then, you'll figure it out.
It's always something. I'm going to. I may just start from the beginning. I'm not sure. Well, all right. That is our show for this evening. And let me leave you now with the words of Commander Shepard from Mass Effect.
Nice ass.
I should go.